This week's episode of Aussie Tech Heads is brought to you by Start New Company. Register your company immediately today with ASIC. ABN, TFN, GST registration is also available directly from the portal. Also set up your family trust and self-managed superannuation fund and more. All at startnewcompany.com.au. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/startnewco and keep an eye out for our regular specials. Start your new company now within 10 minutes of lodgement. All legal company documentation provided after registration. startnewcompany.com.au. And also brought to you by athwebhosting.com.au. All our servers are operating on SSD drives, immediate activation, SSL certificates, Aussie support, domain registration, and more. Easy install WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, and 300 other one-click installations. Generous space and bandwidth, auto backups, WordPress help and maintenance plans are also available on Contact. If your webpage is important for your business or your life, contact us today. Aussie support, secure services, athwebhosting.com.au. And now for the show.
Welcome to episode 685 of the Aussie Tech Heads, recorded on the 16th of July, 2020. I'm your host, Jason Oakley. This is my co-host, Big Willie.
Hey, mate, how goes it?
How's that going, Big Willie?
Better now I got a computer back.
Whoa. And what was wrong with it after all that?
The initial problem that caused the crash was a Windows rollback and reinstall on a RAID driver. It decided to take the proprietary RAID driver off and install its own version.
Didn't they do your network card before that?
Yeah, they've done the network card and the graphics card, so this is now the third driver that they've overwritten with the wrong driver.
Isn't there any way to protect against Microsoft installs or something?
Well, I've turned off not only auto updates, I've also turned off auto driver assignments, and it ain't working. So, nope. Well, the next thing I'm going to do is block the Microsoft IP addresses.
Yeah.
Through the firewall, so I physically can't access it. But, seriously. Anyway, so they figured that out. They got it working, and they stability tested it for a week, and the thing didn't crash. Brought it home, plugged it in, didn't work. Was about to take it back, and just randomly, I had everything unplugged except the power cable and a video cable plugged in. It worked. Okay. Plugged in the keyboard, plugged in a mouse, plugged in another video card, plugged in all the video cards. Alright, time to switch to the hub, so I plugged the hub in, wouldn't boot.
Oh.
Turns out, USB 3 hubs fail, they go to a no boot condition.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So, killed one hub, I got a new one now, but turns out that's probably what the problem was, although the symptom was bad drivers.
And a gecko.
And the problem, there's a gecko in there, but he's fine. It turns out he didn't eat too much.
He's little Roger.
So,
Roger the gecko.
And it looks like all the video files from the interview are corrupt, so I've got to spend some time and effort and energy and money on those and get those recovered.
Send me a copy too. I'll look around with them for a while.
Thanks, Microsoft. Yeah, I'm going to send you a raw copy of a video file that's an hour long.
Yeah.
You know how big that is?
Just stick it on your Dropbox, man.
It's like 150 gig. It's actually possibly more than that. Because don't forget, I recorded in 3840 by 1080. So that I could record both full screen, both people in full screen at full width, and then cut later, save trying to do it live.
Okay, well, my advice then is good luck.
So yeah, there's that pretty much. But anyway, so other than that, it's all working good now. It's good to have it back up and running, and all the things that come with that, like being able to do things.
Yeah.
You don't realize how much you use a computer until you don't have one.
Yeah.
And you're trying to like do
You can't go fishing.
you're trying to do like your timesheet, and you're trying to do like your tax return and stuff on your phone. It's just like this is really painful.
I think I'm going to have to attempt my tax return on the weekend.
I did mine.
Wish
Took
me
me
luck.
about 12 seconds.
Half your luck. You must have a good accountant.
Yeah, me.
Yeah.
I just tick yes to everything. And then when they go, you cocked up, I went, oh, well, not my fault, it's too hard.
Yeah. Make it easier.
So, yeah, exactly. Simplify it. I know how you can simplify it. Stop charging me tax.
You don't want to pay it anyway.
It's but that's a whole other story for a whole different show. Not that I'm doing that show anymore, but if I was doing that show, that'd be a story for that one.
Have you seen the comedy show Black Books when Bernard is trying to do his taxes?
I don't know if I've seen that one specifically. I've seen a lot of them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they got a lot of funny stuff. It's like, if you live by the river in a flat, what?
Yeah, oh yeah. Some of the... but it's not that far off. Doing normal, you know, if you have to write with your left hand but you got to pee with your right hand, you can claim this tax benefit.
Yeah,
it's like,
that's what he was going on about.
It's true though. That's the problem. It's not like it's you know. Yeah. So. But yeah, no, it's all plodding along and all sort of. I'm on 2 weeks holiday, so I'm completely lost in terms of day and time, and I just have no idea. Like, until you messaged me, I was completely unaware it was even Thursday today.
Yeah. Well, here's one of the things he had. If you live in a council flat beside the river but are not blind, what's your mother's name?
Yeah.
I don't know. What's her first name? I just knew her as Ma. That'll do. Ma, possibly deceased. And then he rings his mother later in the episode. Hi, Ma. No, I've got to go. I'm doing my tax.
That sounds about right. So.
But he found out that if you were gravely injured, you didn't have to do your tax. So he was trying to get everyone to beat him up so he'd be knocked out and wouldn't be able to do his tax.
Oh, yeah. I can understand that.
Right? I like that they pre-fill stuff on the website now, though, so that might help me.
Does, yeah. And all your bank statements and everything come in automatically. And
Oh, yeah. Private health stuff and all your greens, what do they call them? Group certificates.
Group certs and, yeah, all that sort of stuff. It's all done online. It really is. Like, the only thing, if you want to spend time doing, is deductions.
Yeah.
You can spend time and do your deductions. I just did a couple of basics things, and I could have claimed a lot more. I could have claimed tolls. I could claim phone. I could claim internet. I can claim all sorts of bits and pieces, but I didn't bother. I just did a couple of basic ones and whatever. But
yeah,
I do like it. They ask you at the end of it, do you wish to what's it say at the end? Will you be filling out a tax return next year? So I just tick no.
See what happens.
Well, that's all it said. It said, are you going to fill out a tax return next year? No.
The funniest one that I liked. Government, you owe us money. It's called taxes. Oh, how much do I owe? You have to figure that out. Oh, I just pay what I want. Oh no, we know exactly how much you owe, but you have to guess that number 2.
Yeah.
What if I get it wrong? Oh, you go to prison.
Yep.
If you already know, then why do I have to fill it?
Yep. Exactly. It's so dumb. Absolutely. And yeah.
One day I hope to be rich enough not to have to pay tax anymore.
Well, pretty much.
It's only poor people who need to pay money to the government.
Yeah, that's...
You see, Apple just got out of their, what is it, $14 billion that they were supposed to owe to the EU.
Yep. Because money.
They got the lawyers and accountants that we can't afford. But they don't need it. But
no, that's right.
The rich people who can afford the accountants to not pay the tax are what the poor people need, so they don't have to pay the tax because they can't afford it. But the rich people who can afford to pay the tax don't pay the tax because they can afford to hire somebody to not pay their tax.
Because the rich people know that taxes, the rich companies and the rich lawyers know that taxes is unlawful things. So they just go, well, we're not paying it, and
They don't go to
they
jail.
turn around and go, oh, okay. But it's us schmucks who don't have the money to take it. If you take it to court, you'll win every time
Yeah.
because it's unlawful
They don't have the time and money for it.
It's unlawful to be paying tax, and it's unlawful for them to collect it. And it's also unlawful because the tax department's a private entity that they can't even prove that they're they're a lawful asset under the court of law, and that's been proven time and time again. If you have the money to fight them, you'll win every time. But you've got to have the money to fight them to win every time. So it's like...
And if you had the money, you wouldn't need to fight them.
Yeah, exactly. So it's...
It's a trap.
It's a trap.
Star Wars. It's a trap. Should we do some sort of story rubbish?
I don't know. Oh, that's the thing we should do one day, shouldn't it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
What?
It sounds terrible.
That sounds horrible. Hey, you designed that. That's all you, buddy.
I found it on the website. A number of high-profile Twitter accounts were simultaneously hacked on Wednesday by attackers who used the accounts, some with millions of followers, to spread a cryptocurrency scam. That's Tim Apple. Apple, Elon Musk, and Joe Biden were among the accounts compromised in a broadly targeted hack that remained mysterious hours after taking place. Those accounts and many others posted a message promoting the address of a Bitcoin wallet with the claim that the amount of any payments made to the address would be doubled and sent back. A known cryptocurrency scam technique, which a bunch of dummies apparently fell for.
Sounds legit.
You don't say here, if you just mail me a $5 note, I'll totally email you back a $10 one. Yeah,
I will guarantee. If you send me $10, I'll guarantee you I'll send you a note with $100 written on it.
Yeah, they don't even get that. In the hours following the initial scam post, Kim Kardashian West, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Barack Obama, Wiz Khalifa, Warren Buffett, YouTuber Mr. Beast, Wendy's, Uber, Cash App, and Mike Bloomberg also posted the cryptocurrency scam. While we're still learning more specifics about how the hack went down, we can report that the hacker leveraged an internal Twitter admin tool to gain access to the high-profile account. Apparently, a social engineering rang up one of the staffies, and they're like, "Hey, I want to use the admin tool." They're like, "Oh yeah, totes and stuff." The reporting was soon confirmed by Twitter's own account of what happened. On Wednesday evening, the company tweeted that a coordinated social engineering attack on employees gave hacker access to internal systems and tools. Before the scope of the incident became clear, the hack appeared to focus on cryptocurrency-focused accounts. An initial wave of scam posts from the accounts Bitcoin, Ripple, CoinDesk, Coinbase, and Binance were hacked with the same message. We've partnered with Crypto for Health and are giving back 5,000 Bitcoins to the community, followed by a link to a website, which was totes dodge and everything. Why did people fall for... If people didn't fall for this, I wouldn't have a job. I'll just have to say that. So thank you, dummies.
Yeah. I know. I mean...
My anti-spam, anti-malware, anti-scamming stuff keeps me busy, and you guys have no money because you give it all away.
It's pretty much. There's nothing
that and Nigerian
really.
princes.
The problem is there is legitimate. Yeah, I can just see there's like one prince sitting there going, "Seriously, nobody's replied to my email.
Nobody wants my money.
Yeah, that's it.
I just want to make some friends.
I just want to give my money away.
Give it away now. Give it away. Give it away. Give it away now." So yes, if you saw that, don't give away your cryptos, because nobody in the world is ever going to give you back double what you give them, no matter what the account is or who owns it or how legitimate or awesome
that's not entirely true. I mean, if someone gives me one black eye, I'll probably give them two.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's the exception rather than the rule.
It's bloody ridiculous, mate. How do people fall for these things so
Speaking of people falling for things, 4 suckers have given us money on Patreon.
Ka-ching!
I know, right?
We love you so much.
Yeah, we have Patreon set up. You can go to patreon.com/AussieTechHeads.
That's that message going... Oh, wait.
Oh, wait.
There used to be a message going across the top of the screen. What happened?
You mean that one?
Technical failure. Whoa, what the heck is
That message there. If you open the program to display the message, it works better than if you don't.
Okay.
So it's but yeah.
You can't blame me this week.
Well, I can because
Yes.
but I'm going to. Yeah. So we've had Aussie Tech Heads on Patreon, and we've got 4 people who have graciously donated their hard-earned money to us per month. We have Chris, we have David Bird, we have Daniel and Amanda D, and we have Bouncing Yellow Skull, probably the best handle ever. We do thank you greatly for that. It does help us a lot. That's to be completely transparent with you guys. Of that $16, we get about, I believe it's 11 or 12. And that money is going into, currently I believe, going into hosting the radio station. So there's that. Hopefully, obviously don't feel obliged, but if you guys want to help us out, it does directly go back into the show and helps us and takes the burden off us, because we just do this because we enjoy it, not because we make money from it. So
go to AussieTechRadio.com.
Yep, that's being funded, publicly funded.
Yay.
Just quickly too, as we were talking about the other week, about how incredibly resilient our infrastructure is and how amazingly bulletproof all our backups are for our government organisations. The ATO
What did they
system,
lose this time?
ATO website, 12:14 and the website was unusable. 14 minutes after midnight, when everybody's asleep, it was inaccessible because too many people had tried to lodge their form.
I bet it was one guy, right?
Yeah,
one guy tried to lodge it, and their MS Excel spreadsheet crashed.
At 11:30 a.m. that night, the ATO acknowledged delays accessing our online systems are possible. This is before anybody had even logged on.
And it's pathetic.
So there's
And they
that.
probably spent millions on it too.
Oh, I'm sure it's probably hosted on Amazon, most likely. Well, it's going to be now.
Sounds like it's hosted on a Commodore 64 to me.
It's hosted with the police department, federal police department, and the COVID tracer app. So, yeah. Apparently they've had was it 6 million installs or something? And 90% of the data's corrupted or didn't upload properly or something. So it's like,
I bet it was a Microsoft driver. A lot of people are blaming their computer crashes on that these days for some reason.
You had it. You had exactly the same problem. You know.
Well, my daughter did, yeah.
Yeah, I've had this problem. It's a legit thing.
Yeah.
So, but so it's just a quick story. I just thought that just caught my attention as I was thinking. But speaking of, while we're sort of on the thing of internet, Aussie Broadband. Now, I did an interview, as I mentioned the other week, with Aussie Broadband. Hopefully not this weekend coming. Hopefully next weekend I'll have these interview up if I can get the files recovered. And we were actually talking about this in a bit more detail. So when the interview comes out, it'll be good to go and watch. But basically, Aussie Broadband are coming out and saying that there's most likely going to be speed cuts once the CVC holiday ends, which is about August 19th. And the NBN retailers themselves will be paying for the extra bandwidth. At the moment, the NBN has released extra bandwidth to cover the demand. But as of August 19th, they're going to go back to paying that. So currently they're about 40% up on their standard bandwidth usage. We ran the numbers quickly on the interview I did, and it effectively works out to nearly $1 million it's costing per month the company. And given that they've only got 250,000 subs, 250,000 customers, it effectively means $4 per customer has to either be found somewhere or is going to have to be charged somewhere, because that's a lot of money. Like, you can't carry that sort of money, you know.
Yeah.
And they're petitioning the NBN to say, well, clearly the network can handle it, and clearly the data is effectively free because the infrastructure is now in place and you're wrapping up construction. So why are you charging us extra to have extra data? So Aussie Broadband's leading that push because they do run on a lot tighter budget than a lot of the other telcos, because they have Australian call centres, they have a lot of stuff like that. So their overheads are higher and their prices are cheaper. So something's got to give somewhere. And it's expected to rise and get worse, and the problem's expected to get worse. Whether other companies come clean and say anything about this is another story. But Aussie Broadband's
Just when we thought Australian internet was starting to head in a good direction.
pretty much. It's stupid. It's not the provider's fault. It's the NBN Co. Just basically, because the network's privatised and they own it, which realistically it's a government organisation at the end of the day, but because NBN Co own it, they can charge whatever they want, and if they say no, we're charging you more for data, well, that's got to be passed on somewhere. So unfortunately, if they can't come to some sort of agreement, the price is going to have to go up. End of story. That there's no option for that.
Much like my mobile phone contract after I got it.
Yeah.
I got a contract with Telstra, $50 a month for the data and calls contract, and they're like, "Oh, hey, you've got a 5G phone, so now you've got the 5Gs, and you've got a contract. We're going to backtrack that to add an extra $15 a month."
Well, they can't.
Because it's 5G, but we'll pay the $15 a month for the next year, but after that, you have to pay the extra $15 a month because it's a 5G phone that's going to be on the 5G network.
That I don't want to use. So just disable that feature, thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, you haven't actually enabled it yet.
Don't have 5G here.
So, yeah, that's pretty pathetic, isn't it?
Here's one you should be interested in. Lithium-ion batteries play a central role in the world of technology, powering everything from smartphones to smart cars. And one of the people who helped commercialize them says he has a way to cut mass production costs by 90% and significantly improve their safety. Hideki Hori, formerly of Nissan Motor Co., founded Tokyo-based APB Corp in 2018 to make all polymer batteries, hence the company name. The making of a cell, every battery's basic unit, is a complicated process requiring clean room conditions with airlocks and control moisture, constant air filtering, and exacting precisions to prevent contamination of highly reactive materials. Setup can be so expensive that a handful of top players like South Korea's LG Chem Limited, China's CATL, and Japan's Panasonic Corp spend billions of dollars to build a suitable factory. Hori's innovation is to replace the battery's basic components, metal-lined electrodes and liquid electrolytes, with a resin construction. He says this approach dramatically simplifies and speeds up manufacturing, making it as easy as buttering toast. It allows for 10-meter-long battery sheets that can be stacked on top of each other like seat cushions to increase capacity. Importantly, the resin-based battery is also resistant to catching fire when punctured. In March, APB raised $74 million, which is tiny by the wider industry standards, but will be enough to fully equip one factory for mass production slated to start next year. Ori estimates the funds will get his plant in central Japan to 1 gigawatt hour capacity by 2023. Sounds interesting.
I'm just reading up on it now. It's not new technology. There's a company called Convestro, I believe. I'm just double checking that, but they've been doing that for a few years.
Yeah,
Bayblend resins. They use it in the green pack. They're flame retardant, light and strong, high impact resistance, ease of use. Yeah, it's not new technology. But anything that can bring the cost down is certainly
and the safety up.
Elon Musk himself has developed a new way of doing it. They reckon they can produce like 60% more batteries in the same period of time by doing it, by changing they have to literally change one chemical. They take out they change the cobalt or something and they use something else. And it literally changes the production time and cost by 60% or something. So, but these are, Lithium ions. I believe there's lithium polymers, not lithium ions, which is a different kettle of fish again.
All right.
Lithium polymers, lithium ions are relatively cheap. Lithium polymers are dear because they're more power dense, but they're also much more dangerous.
Right.
So hopefully this will just dial back the dangerous from like 14 to 11. If you ever see like explosions in lithium battery packs and stuff, it's generally lithium polymer, which is any of the pouch type batteries. So ones found in mobile phones and a lot of the portable power packs, that sort of thing.
Yep.
They're a pouch rather than a solid cell, like these sort of, your back power packs, that sort of stuff. You can actually see, I don't think the camera shows it up, but you can actually see this one's actually bowed.
Oh, yeah.
Because the pouch inside's swollen.
Right.
And that'll eventually catch on fire one day when I'm charging it.
Look forward to that.
Which is why
I'll watch the YouTube video.
That's why I charge it outside now. But and that's what's in your phone, those sort of things. So yeah, they're incredibly dangerous. Your most common ones now is your lithium ion cells, like your 18650s, and they look anything like they can look like a standard battery. Like there's nothing special. They're much more stable compound, but they're less power dense, so you don't get the same amount of energy in the same size cells. So they're cheaper to produce, but you have to use more cells. But they are much more reliable than cells, so that's why they tend to use them. Like that's what the Teslas use, for example. Yep. So, yeah. But I'm all for making lipos. I don't touch lipos. Lipos are dangerous.
Yeah.
I've had many lipos explode in my face over the years. Not a fan.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So, but anything you can do to make a lipo more safe, I'm absolutely in agreement with.
Yep.
Especially saying they're going to make them cheaper. Lipos are already so cheap. Like they must, for the power they deliver. So to make them as cheap as 85% cheaper or whatever you're saying, that's going to be great. If they're more reliable.
And pump them out a lot faster too.
Well, it also means that your average phone battery will probably be more powerful, and or you can have a smaller battery for the same capacity, which means you can have more hardware in there. So that's definitely going to be a benefit. There's no bad to come of that.
Better for cars too.
Yeah, they might. I mean, there are some cars like the Nissan Leaf that use the polymer batteries, but yeah, not that many. But they may start going that way if it ends up being a reliable option. Once they get the reliability up, then the versatility will follow.
Yeah.
So, as most of you listeners would probably know, Grant Imahara. Fantastic guy. Love him. Love a lot of the stuff he does. Obviously, was
Mythbusters.
He's of Mythbusters fame, but he before that goes way back into Industrial Light and Magic. Worked with Adam Savage back there, and even prior to that, did some on-screen stuff. Been making robots as long as you remember. Had several degrees, electrical engineer. He's a robotanist, television host. He's done some acting.
He did a lot of the robots for Star Wars.
He did a lot, yeah. He BB-8, R2-D2, and he had his hand with Energizer Bunny. I don't know how many of you guys know the Craig Ferguson show. He's got Jeff Peterson, which is the robot on there.
Oh my!
And, I'll play. What I'll do instead of me rabbiting on about it. I'll play a quick clip from what's called Still Untitled. The Adam Savage's Tested YouTube channel. It's a podcast he's got to do every week. This week's was dedicated to Grant Imahara. I'll just play you like a minute out of that, but it's really worth a lot. Listen to some of the memories and some of the stories they tell about him. But yeah, just this sort of encapsulates what I recall of him myself, but obviously this will be different for everybody. But let me just do this, and then I'll play this bit for you guys.
There were a few electronics guys at ILM and Grant was one of them, but he was also a top-notch model maker. And like all the impressions that the public has of Grant, of being generous and sweet and self-effacing and humble, like that's how Grant has been the entire time I've known him. So working with him was really fun. We worked on Galaxy Quest together. He gave me some advice about lighting a piece I was working on, but he designed this really cool thing for Galaxy Quest for the main ship for Galaxy Quest. He designed an LED engine nacelle that had a program for making the nacelles glow, which he got approval. Like he designed the program to make them glow in a specific way, and then the program could cycle that glowing sequence frame by frame for the motion control shots of the ship. And that was Grant inventing a technology with the motion control department to like make the shot work. That wasn't a thing you could pull off of a shelf.
Yeah.
He also designed 2 different engine nacelle lighting sequences for Galaxy Quest, because for the fake opening of the Galaxy Quest television show within the movie, ILM built a shitty ship. They built the crappy one, and he did the like crude lighting for that. And then for the real ship, he did this really beautiful stuff with blue LEDs. And I remember the blue LEDs cost a fortune back then. It was really hard for him to source them.
So yeah, and I'll quickly, one of the robots I was talking about, I'll quickly just play this clip just for you guys as well, just so you get an idea of. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this, but you've never realised that this was a Granny Mahara creation.
So, internal things got me a new ID card.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Want to see it?
Yeah, let me check it out, pal. Oh, man, you got hosed.
So, yeah, it's...
Check them out on YouTube.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I remember an episode, I was watching a rerun of his a couple of nights ago, and they're in the middle of one of the conversations, and his arm's just drooping more and more and more and more, and like by the end of it, his hand falls off. But yeah, no, look, we've lost a few people in the last 4-6 weeks.
Yep.
There's been a lot of celebrities, but for me, this is probably. I mean, I grew up watching MythBusters. Obviously, yeah, it's one of the staple diet, effectively. You know, started in 2003, so it was just as I sort of moved out of home. It was my comfort show, you know. So
Yep.
I grew up watching Grant, effectively, and he's. I wouldn't say not a role model or anything, but it's certainly an inspiration. He used to do battle bots. He designed his own robots. Deadblow. Deadblow's won like 3 seasons of battle bots or something. You know, and like he just grew up enjoying everything he did because we had very similar tastes. So. For me, this is probably one of the hardest ones we've had recently. But if you're not, obviously, most people are aware. But go and check out some of the other stuff he's did. You'll be surprised just how much he had his hand in, how many jobs he was. You know, he was also hired as an engineer for Lucasfilm's THX. He did visual effects and ILM. He did Lost World, Jurassic Park, Star Wars Episode 1, Galaxy Quest, of course, because why not? Artificial Intelligence, Star Wars Episode 2, Terminator 3, Matrix Reloaded, Van Helsing, Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. He's actually he's updating the R2-D2 robots for the prequel trilogy, making them, obviously, because it's the prequel. No, it was after. I don't know. The new ones anyway, which however they're working, are the ones set last.
Yep.
Yeah. So he had to make the robots more advanced because they were newer or something.
Yep.
Anyway, so it was his job to do that, and that's a pretty intense job. Here's an R2D2 unit that's world renowned. Everybody knows it inside and out, and it's been a staple of the geeks sphere for the last 30 years. Just change it a bit, will you?
Yep.
No pressure. And Adam goes on to tell a story in that interview. He was talking, they had I think he was saying they had 60 or 70 people in a Zoom meeting just
Wow.
chatting about it. And one of the producers who did the thing is actually, earlier in the week, Grant tweeted, or end of last week, Grant tweeted or Instagrammed or something and showed a photo of one of the updates he'd just done on R2D2.
Right.
And that R2D2 unit is sitting behind this producer or writer or director, whoever is sitting behind him in the shop. It's there. He literally worked on that the day he died.
Yeah.
It's just weird. But anyway, no, not to dwell on it. But yeah, so just really good guy, really makes you feel good sort of guy. Go and check out some of the stuff he did, and just let him be your inspiration. It helps.
Yeah.
He's as I said, I wouldn't call him a role model, but I'd definitely call him somebody to inspire you to do your best whenever you can do it, sort of thing. So, so yeah.
The merger between Vodafone and TPG has been completed after the two companies won their court battle against the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission. The pair faced off with the consumer watchdog after they originally blocked from merging last year. The ACCC argued TPG was probably going to build its own mobile phone network and give Australian consumers a fourth choice, thereby increasing competition.
Nope.
TPG and Vodafone argue that TPG's plans for a mobile network were scuttled by the government's decision to ban Huawei, whose cheaper technology TPG planned to rely on.
But they're unbanned now. What's their excuse now?
Are they unbanned here? They were banned and unbanned and rebanned in the UK.
Well, all the 4G NBN boxes that are going out are using Huawei modems. So
yeah.
All right.
It also argued the two should be allowed to merge so they could effectively compete with Optus and Telstra, arguing stronger competition would provide better outcomes for consumers than more competition. The merger is now underway as the new company's assets are combined to form TPG Telecom. The name of the new company aside, its brands, which now include Vodafone, TPG, iiNet, Lebara, AAPT, and Internode, will remain the same. The company said Vodafone and TPG customers will remain Vodafone and TPG customers, and there'll be no difference in the day-to-day experience on the network for either. Over the next few months, TPG's existing spectrum, the radio waves that carry mobile communications, which telcos bid against each other for access to, and its small cell assets will be added to the Vodafone mobile network, with a plan to bring more capacity, support more customers, and boost performance across the network. Vodafone's mobile sites will also be connected to TPG's fibre network to increase performance. Canberra customers will receive a 20% capacity increase as 99 sites of additional spectrum deployed in the 1800 megahertz band, and small cells are also being deployed in busier parts of the Melbourne CBD at Collins Street and Docklands. Not that as many people as usual will be there due to new lockdowns aimed at stopping the spread of coronavirus after a surge in cases.
I bet you they're not putting anything in at the moment. But yeah,
we can put stuff in there, but nobody's allowed to go there anyway. So what's the point?
One of the few things I'm, as a Vodafone customer, I'm not necessarily upset about the merger because theoretically I'll get better coverage. Yeah. But that's about the end of my care factor. So,
as long as customer support is good,
why start now?
Right? They never had it before.
Why change something? I don't know.
It works.
Hopefully, if Aussie Broadband get these plans that they're talking about, I'll be switching to them.
Yeah.
So, just a couple of quick sort of updates. The AMD is very busy at the moment in the CPU arena. They just released 4 new Ryzen processors. which Ryzen is their highest, well, their second highest level processor. It's basically their highest consumer grade processor, effectively. I have the Ryzen. I think I have the Ryzen 7 13700, which was the highest available at the time I built the system, short of going to a Threadripper. They've just released, for example, the Ryzen 7 Pro 4750. I think mine's a 4-core, 8-thread, 3.7, something like that. The new ones are an 8-core, 16-thread, 4.1 gig, 12 meg cache, 7 graphics cores, 1600 megahertz graphic frequency with a 15 watt power distribution. And they benchmark roughly 33% quicker than the current processor I've got. They benchmark about 20% quicker than the current processor I've got. And they benchmark 33% quicker than the i7 1051, which is the fastest i7 currently available. So, and they're like half the price of the i7. So,
right.
But having said that, they're taking on Intel's Xenon chips with the Threadripper Pro 3000. The top of the range of that's going to be the 3995, which is a 64-core, 128-thread, 4.2 gigahertz processor, 288 meg of cache, runs up to 2 terabytes of ECC RAM, and has a 280 watt power usage. So to put that in consumption, that's about what your fridge uses. Actually, that's more. Your average fridge uses 250 watts, so it actually uses more power than your fridge.
Yep.
Just the processor. But it's benchmarking upwards of at least 10% higher, and it's like the third the price of the Intel processor. So Lenovo's taking advantage of this, and the Lenovo new range of workstations that they're releasing have the new Ryzen Threadripper Pros in them. And basically they're going to be the only workstation with the Threadrippers in them. It's going to be based for everything from visual arts, game developers, architects, engineers, that sort of stuff. It's an out-of-the-box, ready-to-go solution. Like, you don't have to mess around and build your own system anymore. You can just, like, this would be the system I would buy if I didn't build this system. Like, if Lenovo did this 6 months ago, I would have just gone and bought this.
Yeah.
You know, they come with up to a terabyte of memory, 20 terabytes of storage space. They have 4 PCI Gen 4, PCI 3 slots. You know, like they can have multiple GPU configurations. You could run 2 NVIDIA Quattro RTX 8000s or 4 RTX 4000s, or, you know, it's a very flexible off-the-shelf purchase. And the fact that they're going this way is really a shot in the foot for Apple, whose Apple's last-ditch effort to retain customers was to have something that developers and programmers and engineers and CAD designers wanted and 3D animators wanted, because they worked off the shelf. But now that, as we covered a couple of weeks ago, that they're moving to the ARM-based Macs, they're losing a lot of support in that regard. And this is going to be, you know, everyone's just going to buy this. It's going to be, I haven't seen the pricing on this yet, but it have to be half the price of an equivalent Mac.
Yep.
And being Windows and Linux based, obviously, it's going to have a lot more cross compatibility than running an ARM-based processor, where you have to buy new software because none of the old software is going to work on it. So, yeah, I think it's going to be definitely something to look out for. And if Lenovo, I mean, they're known, the ThinkStation, they're known for commercial stuff, but if a commercial solution is coming out, I can't imagine it being long before, you know, Republica Gamers or something's going to bring out an off-the-shelf Threadripper solution. Here you go, have this, you know.
Yep.
So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we got a nudge from Pete to talk about the ARM-based Mac. I thought we said something about that last week, but
Yeah, last
I
couple of
also
weeks we covered that.
found another story that Apple's former head of Mac development, Jean-Louis Gasset, has said that Apple's decision to switch to ARM processors for Macs will make it inevitable that higher-end Windows PCs will have to do the same. This in turn will
Why?
force Intel to start making their own ARM CPUs for use in Windows machines. You don't think so?
Why?
He says there's every reason to believe Apple's claims that ARM processors will offer more power and greater battery life. According to Geekbench tests, A12Z performance matches or exceeds my MacBook Pro. Apple didn't disclose the TDP for the A12Z processor, but we can rely on an indirect number. The iPad Pro's 18-watt power adapter output. This gives us an idea of what to expect from Apple Silicon in future Macs, significantly lower TDP without losing processing power. Microsoft will not be able to sit back and watch Apple take the lead with the most powerful PCs on the market, nor will third-party brands making Windows machines. This leaves Microsoft with a choice: either forget Windows on ARM and cede modern PCs to Apple, or forge ahead, fix Apple compatibility problems, and offer an ARM-based alternative to Apple's new Macs. It's a false dilemma, of course. Microsoft will forge ahead with repercussions for the rest of the Windows PC industry. Specifically, what are Dell, HP, Asus, and others going to do if Apple offers materially better laptops and desktops and Microsoft continues to improve Windows on ARM Surface devices? In order to compete, PC manufacturers will have to follow suit. They'll go ARM because, all defensive rhetoric aside, Apple and Microsoft will have made the x86 architecture feel like what it actually is: old.
Yes and no. Technically, yes, they're correct that it's a better architecture, but ARM is not new. ARM's been around for what? I remember seeing ARM processors back in the 386 days as a compatible.
Acorn made BBC
Acorns.
micros in ARM.
Yeah, exactly. They're not a new processor, and they were an amazing processor back then. I remember a friend of mine had an Acorn system, and that thing. The graphics that thing could do was just absolutely insane. The detail and the processing power of it was ridiculous. But they didn't take off. Why? Because to go over to it, you've got to replace every single bit of software you've got. Most of your hardware is not compatible. And you've got to forego having a lot of available products because they're not there. And unless every software manufacturer branches off an ARM-compatible piece of software that's compatible with somebody else's ARM-compatible piece of software, that's not going to happen.
It's going to be a big mess, yeah, because
you need a closed
you'd have to have something like a x86 emulator for ARM Windows.
Yeah.
And then that's going to be a terrible mess and slow down, and in which case, why you're running at ARM?
Yeah, I mean, you need a closed infrastructure. Apple, in many of their flaws, is a closed infrastructure. For them to switch to ARM isn't a big deal.
They just go, screw it, we're doing it. They're going to have dual binaries like they did when they switched from the PowerPC to Intel. They'll just do universal binaries again. That'll work on both for a while until they cut it back down to ARM-only binaries.
Yeah, and I mean, they're the ones who can do it. They're the ones who get away with it. And that's not to say that there won't be crossovers. Like, it may be possible for Compaq or HP or Dell to go, here's your... You've got two choices. Here's your AMD or Intel-based version, and here's your ARM-based version.
Yep.
I can guarantee, other than... Probably, this is where it's going to come down. See, ARM is much lower powered device for the same sort of processing capability. But what I can end up seeing happening is it's going to be end up using for tablets and laptops, point of sale systems, integrated infrastructure, all that sort of stuff, where you want a lot of processing power, but you want as little heat dissipation and as little power consumption as possible. Yep. So whilst, yes, it's a fantastic processor and it's fantastic in its own right, it's not going to see mainstream, but I think there'll definitely be niche markets. I mean, it's never gone out of fashion. They've continually made ARM for the last 40 years.
Yeah, our phones work.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not like it's going to just disappear if they don't switch over to it. But I just don't think, not yet at least, there's still too much fragmentation in the standard retail market for that to become mainstream.
Microsoft would take 5 to 10 years.
Well, and then after Microsoft's relaunched it, then other applications can think about being compatible because they've got to wait for Microsoft to work out what they're going to do before they could write compatible software for it.
Well, that's why when they first brought out OS X and people were like, well, why don't you just open source it? We can run it on anything. I said the point of them not doing that is they know what hardware's in there.
That's right.
And they can write drivers specifically for that hardware. Probably 50, 60, maybe 70% of problems with Windows computers is the drivers made by a third-party guy in his home or backyard shed.
Well, and not even that. It's the compatibility between hardware.
Yeah.
You know, you might have hardware conflicts between individual pieces of hardware. And
if you're the company that puts all the hardware into the motherboard that you make, you know everything about everything, and there's no mistakes to make that's going to cause blue screens or anything.
And your stripped down variant is going to be faster because you now have a streamlined driver loading database. You have a streamlined infrastructure. So the whole process is quicker and more powerful from end to end before you add, you know, different hardware configurations in there. So as much as I bag on Apple, look, they've got the principle under which they operate in terms of that is great. It's fantastic. It's a great way to secure your product and to make sure that it does what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
And it does allow them to do a hardware change and with minimal impact to their existing customers.
Yeah. A lot of people are like, oh, bloody Microsoft, it's crashed Windows again. Well, it's not because of Microsoft. It's because of random drivers for all these different companies, and they're all conflicting, and they don't control anything.
It often is because of Microsoft. Like
they roll back your
drivers. But I know what you're saying. Yeah, and this is the thing. Like I'm not against ARM at all. Same as remember back when they had the RISC processors. Back in back in the day, and OS2 Warp was a RISC-based OS. It was supposed to be written for RISC, if I'm not mistaken. And on the right hardware, it was fantastic. But unless you wanted to write up a document or browse the very basic internet, you couldn't do anything else because nothing else had been developed to run on that processor.
Yeah, that's what ARM stands for, Advanced RISC Machine.
Originally, I mean, they just used to be called. Yeah, I was going to say they used to be called RISC before they were. Yeah. Before they were called ARM.
That's a reduced instruction set instead of CISC, which is complex instruction set that runs on x86 devices.
So it comes down to compatibility versus out and out brute power, I guess.
Yeah.
For servers and mainframes, and they've been for forever. Like mainframes, just reliability and power consumption, speed, heat dissipation, absolutely. But for the average person in PC, not in the next 10 or 15 years, I can't see. It may happen. It may get to the point where the AMDs and the Intels stall in their development and can't push that architecture any further. Then absolutely, ARM's going to step in. But until then, at least at the moment, there's not enough call to change an entire infrastructure. It's just too expensive. So.
Any more for you?
Nothing interesting, honestly.
Nothing. Just a quick little one. Microsoft seems to be getting a kick out of seeing users struggle to find Windows 10 features these days. After moving the Fresh Start feature in the latest version, 2004, and reducing the number of days Windows 10 Pro Enterprise and Education users can manually delay updates, the company is now experimenting with moving key control panel features, including system information, to settings. Windows' latest blog spotted. It's a change that some long-time Windows users might not take too easily. If you've been using the control panel for decades, getting accustomed to this feature will be as arduous as unlearning a bad habit. To be fair, it's a bit redundant to have information on your system specs located in 3 different places, not to mention all 3 don't show the exact same information.
Nope.
Currently, Windows 10 users can access hardware information on their PC in several places, but the main ways are control panel, system and security system, and setting system about, or typing system information into the search bar. System and about show nearly the same info, what processor you have and how much RAM you have installed, for instance, except about will show you what version of Windows you have. System information shows more detailed information about your PC, including your motherboard, GPU, and other hardware. Microsoft is trying to centralize this information, and moving forward, it seems likely that the control panel will be killed off entirely.
What do you mean, like they used to?
Yeah.
You go to one place and find the information. I discovered the other day when I was having all those issues with files updating and stupid crap. There's 3 separate locations to turn Windows updates off, and each of those locations turns a different part of the update off. One turns off the minor updates. One turns off the major update. Actually, no, there's 4. One turns off the minor updates. One turns off the major updates. One turns off the driver updates, and one turns off the security updates. There's 4 separate places you have to.
No
go
wonder you
to.
just want to block all of Microsoft from your network and save the headache.
I'm just going to set up the blocking their IPs for their updates, because that's absolutely just stupid. And the thing is, every time a major update gets reinstalled, it reactivates all the other updates.
So you have to go back and turn them off again.
Back and do them again. So
thanks, Microsoft.
Not a problem at all.
Thanks for listening to the Aussie Tech Heads Show, broadcast weekly. We can be found at facebook.com/Aussie Tech Heads, twitter.com/Aussie Tech Heads, and youtube.com/Aussie Tech Heads. Also now at patreon.com/Aussie Tech Heads. Sign up for $4 a month, $10 a month, or from several other tiers to support us. See the site for details, and thanks for the guys already doing that. Email us, Glenn, Will Warlock at aussietechheads.com.au. You can hear Aussie Tech Heads on aussietechradio.com. 24/7 back-to-back play of some of the best tech-related shows from around Australia and New Zealand. New shows are added each Friday. See you all later next time.
See you later, guys. Bye.